Welcome to the channel where every coin tells a story and where we uncover the hidden treasures lying in your pocket change, your old drawers, or perhaps a forgotten coin jar on a dusty shelf. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most astonishing tales in American numismatic history, the story of the 1984 D-quarter dollar coin, a piece that has sent shockwaves through the collector's world because of its unbelievable value, an estimated $40 million, thanks to the extraordinary and rare errors that make it one of the most mysterious and valuable coins ever discovered. Imagine holding in your hand what appears to be an ordinary 25-cent coin, something you've probably spent countless times without a second thought, only to discover it's worth more than a luxurious mansion, a fleet of cars, or even a lifetime of financial security. The 1984 D-quarter, minted in Denver, is surrounded by intrigue, speculation, and fascination due to the series of minting mistakes, striking anomalies, and design quirks that have elevated it from everyday change to a numismatic legend. The story begins in a year when the United States Mint was operating under intense demand, churning out billions of coins across its facilities to meet the needs of a thriving economy. The Denver Mint, marked by the distinctive D's mint mark beneath the date, was responsible for producing a massive share of circulating coins. But somewhere in that vast sea of metal blanks, machinery, and precision processes, something went terribly, or perhaps wonderfully, wrong. The 1984 D-quarter that would later be hailed as a multi-million-dollar treasure was born from a perfect storm of minting errors that no one could have predicted. The first and most remarkable error noted by experts is the double die obverse, a phenomenon that occurs when the coin's design is imprinted twice on the die at slightly different angles, creating a shadowed or doubled appearance on key features. In the case of this coin, the doubling was so pronounced that it created a ghostly, almost holographic effect on George Washington's profile, particularly along the jawline, the eye, and the word liberty. Even the motto "In God We Trust" appears slightly offset, giving the coin a surreal, layered texture. This kind of error alone is enough to catch the attention of collectors, but what truly makes this coin a legend is that the doubling seems to blend with other anomalies, almost as if multiple minting issues occurred simultaneously. Under magnification, you can see evidence of die deterioration, tiny cracks and distortions that suggest the die used to strike this coin was on the brink of failure, producing irregular pressure points and deformities across the design. This combination of a strong double die and die wear creates a one-of-a-kind look, as if the coin itself is alive, its surface shimmering with imperfection. Yet, that's only part of the story. Another remarkable characteristic is what numismatists refer to as a broad strike error, meaning the coin was struck outside the normal collar that confines its shape. Because of this, the 1984 D-quarter in question appears slightly larger and thinner than a standard quarter, with rim details that flow unevenly and sometimes even flatten out completely. This not only affects its dimensions but also gives it a soft, rounded edge, an instant indicator to trained eyes that something is unusual. Combined with the double die effect, it's a breathtakingly rare combination of minting blunders, one that could easily have gone unnoticed by the mint workers amidst their routine operations. Adding yet another layer of fascination is the possible planchet error. A planchet is the metal disc that becomes the coin, and in this case, there are strong indications that the 1984 D-quarter was struck on an improperly prepared planchet, perhaps one that was intended for another denomination altogether. Imagine a quarter-sized coin but made from a different metallic composition, slightly lighter or darker in tone, reflecting light differently, or producing an odd ring when dropped. Some reports from collectors suggest that the $40 million specimen exhibits color variations and weight discrepancies that support this theory. If true, this could mean that the coin was struck on a transitional planchet, an incredibly rare occurrence where the mint accidentally used leftover metal from another coinage batch, such as a foreign issue or even a nickel planchet. Transitional errors are legendary in the coin world because they represent a moment of chaos within the mint, a fleeting error that usually affects only a handful of coins before being corrected. Another striking aspect lies in the mint mark itself. On most 1984 D-quarters, the D beneath the date is clean, uniform, and well placed. But in this rare version, the mint mark appears slightly tilted and partially filled, almost as if extra metal clogged the die during striking. Under certain angles, the D seems to merge into the field of the coin, making it look faint or even partially missing, a visual oddity that only deepens its mystery. The positioning of the mint mark also differs subtly from normal, suggesting a hand-punched die, which was still a practice in earlier decades but was being phased out during the 1980s. This transitional period in minting technology creates the possibility that human error contributed to the misalignment, a fascinating mix of mechanical and manual imperfection that collectors love to uncover. Some experts have also noted that the reverse side of this coin, the one featuring the iconic eagle design, bears its own set of anomalies. The eagle's feathers appear unevenly struck, with missing detail on one wing and excessive flattening on the other. Around the edge, parts of the text United States of America and quarter dollar show light doubling or blurring, almost as though the coin shifted slightly during the strike. This is known as a misalignment strike, and when combined with other errors like a double die obverse, it becomes a numismatic jackpot. Imagine how rare it is to find all these flaws, double die, broad strike, off-center elements, filled mint mark, and planchet irregularities, existing on one single coin. It's like lightning striking the same spot multiple times. That's what makes this 1984 the D quarter so incredibly valuable. To put this in perspective, most quarters are produced with near-perfect uniformity thanks to modern minting controls. Billions of coins pass through strict quality checks, with flawed specimens usually melted down or discarded before ever leaving the facility. So, for a coin like this to escape into circulation and survive decades unnoticed, is nothing short of miraculous. The few surviving examples, especially one in pristine uncirculated condition, have become the holy grail for collectors. Imagine the journey of that coin, minted accidentally in Denver, perhaps slipping through a conveyor belt undetected, bagged with thousands of others, and shipped out into the American economy to be spent on gum, bus fares, or soda, completely unaware that it was worth more than an entire neighborhood. Over time, as collectors became more aware of error coins and technology allowed closer inspection, these rarities began to surface. One such discovery in the early 2000s reportedly sent shockwaves through auction houses when an almost flawless 1984 D quarter with multiple verified minting errors fetched an astronomical price, later estimated in private valuations to be worth as much as $40 million due to its singularity and historic importance. What's also fascinating is that this coin emerged from an era when the US Mint was transitioning between traditional hand engraving and more automated die creation methods. This shift sometimes caused inconsistencies in die alignment and metal flow, leading to unique hybrid errors that couldn't easily be replicated. For numismatists, that intersection of old craftsmanship and new technology is pure gold, or in this case, silver and copper-nickel. Furthermore, the coin's condition plays a critical role in its immense valuation. The $40 million specimen reportedly exhibits sharp luster and minimal signs of wear, suggesting it was either never circulated or preserved very early in its life. Every detail, from the texture of Washington's hair to the delicate lines in the eagle's wings, tells a story of survival and rarity. In the coin collecting community, the term mint state is sacred. It refers to coins that remain in the same condition as when they left the mint. When a mint state coin also contains multiple errors, its value multiplies exponentially because such preservation is almost impossible under normal circumstances. It's like finding an untouched relic of an industrial mistake that should have been destroyed. But beyond the technical aspects, there's also the human fascination, the emotional pull of rarity. People are drawn to stories of hidden fortune, of ordinary objects that turn out to be priceless, and the 1984 D quarter embodies that dream perfectly. The allure of finding one in your change is part of what keeps collectors motivated. The thrill of discovery fuels entire communities, from casual hobbyists to professional numismatists who spend years examining coins under microscopes in search of anomalies. What makes the $40 million quarter even more legendary is the cloud of mystery surrounding how many might exist. Some experts believe only one or two examples were ever struck, while others speculate that a handful escaped into circulation unnoticed. Regardless of the exact number, the confirmed specimen story has inspired countless treasure hunts across the United States. People have combed through coin rolls, old collections, and estate sales, hoping to find that magical piece. Next! 1979 quarter dollar coin, a piece that might look like any ordinary Washington quarter at first glance but carries an unbelievable story, a coin that, due to its extraordinary minting errors, striking anomalies, and unique production history, has been valued by collectors and auction houses at an astonishing $35 million, turning heads across the numismatic world and leaving many wondering how a simple 25-cent piece could possibly be worth that kind of money. So buckle in, because this is not just a story about a coin, It's a story about history, mistakes, metal, and the relentless pursuit of perfection gone wonderfully wrong. When the 1979 Washington quarter was minted, it was part of an era when the U.S. Mint was transitioning between technologies and materials, and subtle changes in die preparation, planchet quality, and even the striking pressure led to several varieties and errors that today are the reason behind its staggering value, as collectors and experts continue to discover anomalies that simply shouldn't exist. Imagine pulling a coin from circulation and realizing that a small doubling on the word liberty or a misaligned mint mark could be your ticket to unimaginable wealth, and that's exactly what happened to a few lucky individuals who stumbled upon one of these ultra-rare 1979 quarters that display a combination of mint errors so unusual that they have become legendary. One of the most significant and valuable versions of the 1979 quarter is the double die obverse variety, a minting mistake that occurred when the coin die imprinted the design twice on the same surface but slightly out of alignment, leading to a ghost-like doubling effect that can be seen especially in the inscriptions "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." This particular type of error isn't just visually striking, it's a marker of a rare event in minting history that collectors crave because it captures a fleeting moment of imperfection during the mechanical process that was never meant to happen. On top of that, certain examples of the 1979 quarter also exhibit off-center strikes, where the coin blank was not properly aligned with the dies during striking, causing part of the design to be missing or shifted dramatically toward one edge of the coin, leaving a crescent-shaped blank area that transforms an everyday coin into a collector's dream. Such off-center strikes are extremely desirable, but what makes the 1979 series special is that some of these off-center strikes also include partial dates or incomplete mint marks, adding layers of mystery and uniqueness to every surviving specimen. Even more astonishing are the instances of wrong planchet errors found among the 1979 quarters, where the coin was accidentally struck on a planchet meant for another denomination such as a nickel or even a Susan B. A. Anthony dollar, leading to odd weight, color, and thickness differences that immediately raise eyebrows among seasoned numismatists. Imagine finding a 1979 quarter that weighs only 4.6 grams instead of the standard 5.67 grams or appears slightly golden instead of silvery. These subtle physical differences can translate into enormous differences in value because they are undeniable proof that the coin was born of an unexpected accident at the mint. Some of the most valuable examples have been authenticated to show mismatched planchets, such as being struck on copper nickel-clad dimes or pure nickel blanks, and because the United States Mint was operating multiple facilities that year, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, these production variances have led to several unintentional combinations of dies and materials that were never supposed to meet. For example, a 1979 quarter with a Denver Mint mark, the small d below Washington's bust, has been found struck using a die prepared for proof coins, which are normally minted in San Francisco for collectors, creating what's known as a transitional proof error, a freak occurrence that instantly places it among the rarest coins ever discovered. It's mistakes like these that have caused collectors to speculate that the $35 million valuation might not even be exaggerated, especially when one considers that certain specimens exhibit multiple layers of error, a double die combined with an off-center strike or even a clipped planchet where a small crescent of metal is missing from the edge due to an overlapping blanking process before the coin was struck. These overlapping errors are almost impossible to replicate, making each coin a one-of-a-kind masterpiece of minting mishaps, and it's this uniqueness that drives their astronomical worth. When we talk about clipped planchets, we're referring to those rare coins where the metal blank from which the coin is struck was partially cut out of sheet metal that overlapped another blank during production, resulting in coins that have visible missing sections shaped like a bite or crescent along the rim, and on some 1979 quarters, these clips occur near crucial design elements, sometimes cutting through letters or parts of Washington's profile, making them visually stunning and historically priceless. Another noteworthy type of 1979 quarter error involves die cracks and cuds, which occur when the coin dies develop fractures or break away completely during the striking process, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal on the finished coins. In some 1979 quarters, large cuds have been found extending into the date area or covering part of the motto, giving each coin a distinct and rugged appearance that captures the raw energy of the minting machines at work. Such dramatic die failures were not common by 1979 because the US Mint had already modernized much of its process, which makes any die crack or cud from that year even more remarkable and desirable, almost like finding a time capsule of mechanical imperfection amid an era of precision. Adding to the fascination is the discovery of 1979 quarters struck with fill dies, where dirt, grease, or debris clogged parts of the die during striking, causing missing or faint details in areas like the mint mark or parts of the lettering. A fill die error might not sound spectacular at first, but when combined with other anomalies like misalignment or doubling, it produces a coin that stands apart from the millions of flawless quarters minted that year. Some fill die errors from 1979 show almost completely missing mint marks, leading to confusion and speculation about whether they were no mint mark issues from Philadelphia or just obscure Denver coins, which adds another layer of intrigue for collectors chasing the ultimate mystery piece. Then there are broad strike errors, where the coin was struck outside of its retaining collar, causing it to expand slightly and take on a wider, flatter shape with no defined rim, making the coin look stretched and unusual. The 1979 quarters with broad strike errors often weigh the same as normal ones but appear physically larger in diameter, and because the rim details are missing, they have a soft, flowing edge that's instantly recognizable to those who know what to look for. Some of these broad-struck 1979 quarters also show partial design loss on one side, enhancing their rarity and desirability among specialists who focus on misstruck coins. Another layer to the story involves repunched mint marks, where the small D for Denver or S for San Francisco was hand-punched into the die more than once, slightly misaligned each time, resulting in a doubling or shadow effect that's visible even under low magnification. These repunched mint mark varieties are highly sought after by collectors who study die varieties, and certain 1979 quarters with pronounced repunching have fetched extraordinary sums at auction due to their crisp detail and historical significance. Adding to the mythos is the speculation that a small batch of experimental 1979 quarters was produced during material testing for the Susan B. Anthony Dollar program, possibly using planchets of different composition or alloy balance, and if any of these test coins made it into circulation or private hands, they would explain the odd weight, color, and luster differences found in some examples. Such experimental strikings are nearly impossible to authenticate definitively, but the stories surrounding them have helped fuel the legend of the $35 million 1979 quarter. Collectors and experts often note that the coin's value isn't just about the errors themselves but also about the combination of factors like condition, rarity, provenance, and demand. A 1979 quarter that exhibits one or two common errors might be worth hundreds or thousands, but when all the rare attributes come together, a double die, wrong planchet, off-center strike, and strong mint luster preserved in uncirculated condition, the result is a numismatic unicorn whose value skyrockets to unimaginable levels. The coin's provenance also plays a part, those authenticated by top grading services like PCGS or NGC and accompanied by expert documentation can command massive premiums. The few known 1979 quarters that have sold for staggering amounts did so because they represented unique examples of minting history, coins that tell the story of human error, mechanical imperfection, and the unpredictable beauty that results when precision meets chaos. Last, 1980 quarter dollar today, we're going to uncover one of the most mind-blowing coin stories ever told, the story of the 1980 AD quarter dollar coin, a simple-looking 25-cent piece that has stunned collectors and experts alike with an astonishing value reaching up to $33 million because of its remarkable and rare minting errors. You might be wondering how a coin from the 1980s, something you could easily mistake for any other quarter in your spare change, could possibly be worth such an extraordinary amount. Well, the secret lies in the unique errors and minting mistakes that occurred during its production at the Denver Mint, and how a combination of history, rarity, and collector passion transformed an ordinary piece of currency into one of the most sought-after collectibles in American numismatic history. To fully understand why this 1980 AD quarter has achieved legendary status, we need to go back to the conditions at the US Mint in the late 1970s and early 1980s. During that time, the mint was operating at high capacity, producing billions of coins annually to meet the country's growing demand for circulation currency. With such massive production levels, it was inevitable that occasional minting mistakes would slip through the system, and some of those errors became so unique and eye-catching that they would later be recognized as treasures by collectors. The 1980s D quarter, in particular, became famous because several examples were struck with extremely rare die errors, off-center strikes, double dies, and even transitional planchet mistakes that made them truly one of a kind. Imagine a coin that was supposed to be made of copper nickel clad over a copper core, but instead was struck on a different metal planchet, perhaps one intended for a foreign coin or a completely different denomination. These accidental variations are what make certain coins instantly more desirable to collectors, and in the case of the 1980 D quarter, such oddities elevated its status beyond imagination. One of the most intriguing errors found on certain 1980 D quarters is the double die obverse error, where the design elements such as Liberty, In God We Trust, and even George Washington's profile appear slightly doubled. This doubling happens when the die itself shifts slightly during the hubbing process, causing a secondary image to be imprinted on the coin's face. Collectors love this kind of mistake because it's visible to the naked eye, and it represents a rare moment of imperfection in an otherwise precise minting process. Some of these double die 1980 D quarters have been authenticated by grading services and have sold for astonishing amounts, pushing their potential worth into the multi-million-dollar range due to their uniqueness and condition. Another type of error that makes the 1980 D quarter incredibly valuable is the off-center strike. When a coin is struck improperly and part of the design is missing or shifted away from the center, it becomes a collector's dream. A perfectly centered strike represents the norm, but an off-center coin reveals the unpredictable side of minting. Some 1980 D quarters show significant off-centering, sometimes with nearly half of Washington's head missing, while still retaining the visible date and mint mark, an important factor that allows collectors to identify its origin. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the rarer the coin, and when combined with the mint mark indicating Denver Mint production, these coins become truly special. Then there's the possibility of transitional planchet errors, which are among the rarest and most valuable mistakes in coin collecting history. Transitional errors occur when a coin is struck using metal intended for a previous or upcoming year's design. Imagine if a 1980 D quarter was accidentally struck on a 1979 planchet or even on a foreign planchet used for overseas contracts by the US Mint. These mix-ups have happened before in numismatic history, and whenever they do, the resulting coins can fetch astronomical prices at auction. One theory about the $33 million valuation of the rarest 1980 D quarter is that it may have been struck on an experimental planchet or one made of a silver-copper alloy, something that should never have happened for a coin produced in 1980. Such a unique composition, verified by metallurgical testing, would make the coin an ultra-rarity, one of perhaps only one or two ever made. Now imagine that coin surviving for over 4 decades, remaining in nearly mint condition, with all its errors perfectly visible under magnification. To a collector or an investor in rare coins, such a specimen represents the pinnacle of rarity, and therefore, an object worth millions. In addition to minting errors, the historical context of the 1980s also plays a role in enhancing the mystique of this coin. During that decade, coin collecting was undergoing a renaissance, with new grading systems emerging and public interest in numismatics surging thanks to media coverage of rare finds and high-profile auctions. Coins with rare errors suddenly became symbols of luck, discovery, and potential wealth. The idea that an everyday coin could transform into a multi-million-dollar artifact appealed to people from all walks of life, and the 1980s D quarter became a legendary example of that dream coming true. One of the most reported examples of this coin featured an extraordinary combination of errors, an off-metal strike combined with a broad strike and partial collar, leading to an odd-shaped coin that still retained the clear 1980 D date and partial rim. Experts have examined such coins and confirmed that they were not manipulated post-mint, instead, they were authentic mint-made errors, which makes them exponentially more valuable. Furthermore, the 1980 D mint mark itself carries historical significance. Denver-produced coins are known for their consistency, but when an error does occur there, it becomes more remarkable because it defies the reputation of precision associated with the Denver Mint. Collectors often seek Denver-minted coins because of their clean strikes, but a flawed Denver coin that slips through quality control is a rarity indeed, and that paradox adds layers of fascination to the 1980s D quarter story. The coin's condition, or grade, also plays a vital role in its valuation. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70 by professional services like PCGS and NGC, with MS70 representing a perfect mint state coin. An error coin that also maintains a high mint state grade is exceptionally rare. Many error coins are found in circulation and show signs of wear, but if a 1980 D quarter with one or more minting mistakes was preserved in near-perfect condition, perhaps discovered in a mint set or accidentally stored away by someone decades ago, it could easily command a value that skyrockets into the tens of millions. The excitement around these coins isn't just about their monetary value but also about the thrill of discovery. Imagine finding a 1980 D quarter in your pocket change, only to notice something slightly off about it. Maybe the edge looks thicker, or the design seems misaligned. That tiny imperfection could be the clue to uncovering a fortune. Stories of ordinary people finding rare coins in the most unexpected places add fuel to the fascination surrounding numismatics. These stories remind us that valuable treasures often hide in plain sight, waiting for sharp-eyed individuals to recognize their worth. Another remarkable detail sometimes found on error coins from this era is a die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving faint ghost-like impressions of the opposing design. If a 1980 D quarter exhibits such a clash, where part of the eagle's wings from the reverse appear faintly on Washington's portrait or vice versa, it becomes an even more fascinating piece for collectors who love visible minting anomalies. Each layer of imperfection tells a story about the mechanical process, human oversight, and the randomness that can create beauty and value from error. There are even accounts of some 1980 D quarters showing rotated dies, meaning the front and back of the coin are misaligned by several degrees. This kind of rotational error adds yet another element of intrigue, as collectors appreciate the visual oddity when flipping the coin and seeing the design not properly aligned. When all these elements, double die, off-center strike, off-metal planchet, die clash, and rotated die, come together in a single coin, the resulting piece becomes practically priceless. That's the kind of legendary status attributed to the 1980 D quarter that fetched or was estimated to be worth around $33 million. It's not just a coin, it's a perfect storm of minting mishaps, historical significance, aesthetic appeal, and sheer rarity. The allure of coins like the 1980 D quarter goes beyond their errors. It represents the unpredictability of minting and how tiny mistakes can lead to massive value. Collectors and investors often describe such coins as numismatic miracles because their creation defies the odds. To put it in perspective, billions of quarters were minted in 1980, yet only a handful of known examples exhibit these dramatic errors, and among those, perhaps only one or two feature the full suite of rare characteristics that elevate them to legendary status. That scarcity alone justifies the multi-million-dollar valuation, especially in an era where global collectors compete for ownership of historically significant artifacts. Another aspect influencing the coin's value is its provenance, its history of ownership. If a specific 1980 D quarter has been authenticated, documented, and featured,